Okay, now that the Chicago Bears have officially drafted quarterback Justin Fields, I have a very interesting question that I want to run by you guys, all right? Which is the following. Will Justin Fields start for the Chicago Bears in 2021? Now, you might be thinking, duh, Faiz, that's why we drafted him. What? It's not that simple. I'll explain, all right? But before I do, if you're new to the channel, make sure to go ahead and hit that big red subscribe button down below. Make sure you're following me on all my social media platforms and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I drop a new video, guys. All right, so with that being said, let's get into it. All right, so everyone's just assuming Justin Fields is going to start, right? And that very well could happen, but here's why I think this is a legitimate question to ask. You may be thinking, Faiz, it's way too early. Well, this is what we do here, okay? It's going to be a long off season, and we got plenty of time, so we can speculate on it, talk about it. So essentially, people think Justin Fields is going to start right away. It could happen. Here's where I'm at. We just signed Andy Dalton, right? To a 10-year deal, 1 year, 10-year deal. Excuse me. Oh, my goodness. That would be awful. A 1 year, $10 million deal for Andy Dalton. And you know that could be considered backup quarterback money, but all indications were we signed him to be a starter. We still have Nick Foles on the roster. All right? So it's not a clear path for Justin Fields here to be the starting quarterback. And here's the other thing. What is the thing that you can do to ensure Justin Fields' success? It's to make sure that whenever he does step on the field, he's got the right protection, he's got weapons, he's got support. You want to basically give him support. You don't want to throw Justin Fields to the Sharks and just put him and covered in blood and just throw him to the Sharks and say, here you go. No, that's how you fail young quarterbacks, okay? And let me take you back to a couple years ago with Mitchell Trubisky. I know everybody wants to get that out of their heads. I get it. But with Mitchell Trubisky, his rookie year, the Bears signed Mike Glennon, started Mike Glennon, and then Mike Glennon did what Mike Glennon does, and he got benched, and then Mitchell Trubisky was brought in. Now, Mitchell Trubisky at that time had no supporting cast, the best wide receiver on the team, I think it was like Kendall Wright, and just absolutely no weapons on offense, and he was predictably mediocre. Now, again, we found out later on that Mitchell Trubisky isn't a very good quarterback, but he wasn't given much. John Fox was the head coach at that time. And so, you fast forward it to now with Justin Fields. What happens if you start Justin Fields right away, and again, he does not, take off? Well, that could be a problem. But this all goes back to Nagy and Pace and how long they're here. All right? This all goes back to them. If Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are both on the hot seat with like a 1 year deal, and again, you might think they are, but we don't know. The McCaskies love them. So they could have gotten under the table deals. I've mentioned this before. If they are on the hot seat and they feel like their jobs are on the line, then they will try to make sure that Justin Fields gets on the field because they want to show the ownership that, hey, look, we got the right guy. You got to extend us. But if they are not on the hot seat or they don't feel like they're on the hot seat, then they might be okay with waiting and not starting him and starting Andy Dalton. So it all depends on that, all right? Where Pace and Nagy are in terms of, how long they're going to be here, right? So to me, that's the most important thing. Me as a Bears fan, personally, what do I want? All right, this is what I want. I want Justin Fields to succeed, duh. But how is Justin Fields going to succeed in the best way possible? I believe Justin Fields should start if he deserves to, all right? If he beats out Andy Dalton in training camp, if he beats out Nick Foles, which, again, isn't saying or doing much, he should be able to. I have no issues with him starting. But if he does what rookies do and he's got, he needs some time to develop and he's got a little slow with picking up things. I'm not saying things will happen, but if that is the case, I have no issue not starting Justin Fields right away. Start Andy Dalton, and then you can bring in Justin Fields. The only reason I say that, and you might be surprised that I'm saying that, is because I have seen quarterbacks in the past have, it feels like, more success when they sit. right? Well, obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the one example. Sat for pretty much a season. He played in Week 17, but sat for pretty much a whole season behind Alex Smith. We all know the story with Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre for multiple years. And I just believe it gives them time to like develop. Now, again, that doesn't mean Justin Fields can't start right away. All I'm trying to say is Justin Fields, you got to do what's best for him. You got to do what's best for him, right? If you remember with the Seattle Seahawks, when they drafted Russell Wilson, they had no intentions of starting him. They had signed Matt Flynn. They had signed Matt Flynn to be the starting quarterback. Russell Wilson came into training camp, just blew everybody away, wowed them, and Pete Carroll's like, I got to start this kid. He's incredible, and the rest is history. So Justin Fields comes into training camp, he comes into the Bears camp, and he's blowing everybody away, and he looks like the franchise quarterback, the superstar quarterback that we all know he can be. Start him. Start him. Don't be holding to Andy Dalton just because you paid him $10 million and signed him to a one-year deal. Screw that. Start Justin Fields if he deserves to. But again, I need you to be careful with him as well. If he is slow, I won't blame them. But I think this all goes back to Nagy and Pace. This all goes back to Nagy and Pace and how long they're going to be here, because there's a chance, folks, where, they drafted Justin Fields and they could be gone next year and a new regime inherits him. So it's crazy to me, but essentially, what do I want? I want what's best for Justin Fields, for him to succeed. If he proves it in training camp, start the kid. If you feel like he needs some time to develop, that's fine. You can start Andy Dalton, because I've seen quarterbacks have some success when they sit for a year. All right? Because again, here's the thing, folks. Like, I feel so ecstatic to be a Bears fan right now, but let's be honest, Andy Dalton or Justin Fields, I just don't think you're winning a Super Bowl in year one, right? So it's going to take some time here. The main thing we do have is hope, and you can't put a price on that, right? Having a potential franchise quarterback, oh my goodness, you just sleep better at night. But it's his development, which is most important. So I want to ask you guys, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the Bears to start Justin Fields right away, no matter what? Or do you think that they should, treat him with the kid gloves, properly develop, and just make sure he's out there when he's ready? We saw what happened with Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen again. God forbid it happens again. But I am saying we got to be a little careful here. Got to be a little careful, and let's see what happens. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree, as always. Thanks for watching.